Okay, guys, we are going to review fractions, dividing fractions this week. We're going to start with this one, dividing fraction by fraction. So you need to remember that keep, change, flip, and the flip being reciprocal. So everybody should say that word reciprocal right now to themselves. Ready? Reciprocal. Okay, so I'm going to keep 2/3 because that's my first fraction. I'm going to change my division symbol to multiplication. I'm going to flip 1/2 to its reciprocal of 2/1. Then I'm going to multiply. So 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 1 is 3. I end up with 4/3. Now, that's improper. So 4/3 is improper. So I'm going to take 4 and divide it by 3. 3 goes into 4 one time. 1 times 3 is 3. I subtract, I get 1. 1, it becomes my numerator. 3 is my denominator. So the answer here is 1 1/3. If I divide a fraction by a whole number, I have to rewrite this as 7/8 divided by 4/1. So you have to rewrite your whole number as a fraction over 1. You're going to follow the same process. Your keep, change, flip. So I rewrote 4/1 with the reciprocal 1/4. There isn't any cross simplifying that can be done, so I'm just going to go ahead and multiply across. 7 times 1 is 7. 8 times 4 is 32. 7/32 is simplest form, so I'm done. Now I have 2/3 divided by 3.5. 3.5 is a mixed number, so I must turn that mixed number into an improper fraction before I begin. 2 times 3 is 6. That's where I start. And then I have to add my numerator. Plus 1 is 7. So 3.5 becomes 7/2. I bring down my 2/3 and my division symbol. And now I'm going to use that keep, change, flip process. So I'm going to keep 2/3, change division and multiplication, and flip 7/2 to 2/7. Again, there isn't anything that can be simplified. So I'm just going to multiply across. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 7 is 21 for 4/21. And that is simplest form as well. I just want to review with you improper to mixed number. So if you have, let's say 17/6, you would have to simplify that to a mixed number. And to do that, you would take 17 and divide that by 6, because 17 would be your dividend and 6 would be your divisor. So 6 goes into 17 twice. 2 times 6 is 12. Subtract, I will get 5. 5 becomes my numerator. 6 would be the denominator for 2 5/6. If I have a mixed number, like 2 3/4, and I need to turn that to an improper fraction, I multiply 2 times 4. So my 4 for my denominator is multiplied by my whole number. So denominator by whole number, and I get 8. And then I add the numerator. So that's 11. And I keep the denominator the same. So I would have 11/4. Annie needs 3/4 cup of chocolate chips to make a recipe. She only wants to make half the recipe. How many chocolate chips will she need? So let's pick out what's important here, guys. Annie needs 3/4 cups of chocolate chips for the recipe, but she only wants to make half the recipe. So if she only wants to make half the recipe, that means she needs to take the amount of chocolate chips it calls for and divide it by 2. So she has her 3/4 cups of chocolate chips that she needs. We're going to go ahead and divide those by 2. So I will have to rewrite this as 3/4 divided by 2/1. I'm going to keep, change, flip. Okay. You can see there's nothing that can be cross multiplied. So I'm just going to multiply across. 3 times 1 is 3. 4 times 2 is 8. So she will need 3/8 cups of chocolate chips for that recipe. Now, you can see that dividing by 2, we always say this, dividing by 2 is the same as multiplying by half, right? look what we ended up doing at the end here. We ended up multiplying by half. So this whole half of, that word of usually means multiplication with fractions. We could have taken 3/4 and multiplied it by 1/2, and we would have gotten 3/8 cups also. Here you have 1 jar of spaghetti sauce is made with 2/3 cups of tomatoes. How many full jars of spaghetti sauce can be made with 3 cups of tomatoes? So with 1 jar, you use 2/3 cups of tomatoes. And we want to know how many full jars can be made from 3 cups of tomatoes. So what you have to do here is decide what needs to be divided up. So are you going to take your 2/3 cups of tomatoes and divide them among 3 cups? Or are you going to divide your 3 cups of tomatoes among the 2/3 cups that went into 1 jar? So think about that. Which one makes sense to you? Okay? You really should be thinking, this 2/3 was in 1 jar, right? So you wouldn't take your 2/3 cups and divide that among the 3 cups of tomatoes, would you? No, right? So you're going to do this one on your own, and you're going to figure out how many full jars they can make with those 3 cups of tomatoes. Here's another one for you. The fraction 1/4 is how many times less than 9/10. So to figure this out, how would you do it? Would you divide 1/4 by 9/10? Or would you divide 9/10 by 1/4? Okay? So think about that. Are you trying to figure out how many 9/10 are in 1/4? Or how many 1/4 are in 9/10? Okay? What way would make sense? So think about this. If we were talking about, let's say we're talking about 20 and 5. So if I said if I change this to the number 5 is how many times less than 20, would you divide 5 by 20 or 20 divided by 5? Which way would make sense? Okay, so think about that as you're completing this problem. Which one should you be dividing first? So would I say 5 divided by 20 or 20 divided by 5? Well, I wouldn't do this one, right? That doesn't make sense. I would say 20 divided by 5 is 4, so 5 is 4 times less than 20, right? So think about that when you solve 1/4 is how many times less than 9/10. This one is just a straight keep, change, flip. You're going to solve that one. Here we have a store owner uses 1/4 bags of rice to fill 3 containers. How many containers can be filled from 1 full bag of rice? So I drew a model here for you. So this whole model would represent 1 bag of rice. So I shaded in what 1/4 bag looks like, and then that fills 3 containers. So think about what 1 full bag would fill. How many containers would 1 full bag fill? So there you could solve with a model. You could also get the same answer with the numbers in this problem with division of fractions. And then we have this one. Sean bought 2 pounds of apples from the market. He wants to divide the apples equally between his friends so that each friend gets 1/3 pounds of apples. How many friends can Sean distribute the apples to? Well, your keywords here are he buys 2 pounds. He wants to divide the apples equally between his friends, so each friend gets 1/3 pounds of apples. So you have to decide, are you going to be dividing 1/3 apples by 2 pounds, or the 2 pounds he bought by 1/3 that he's going to give to each friend? Okay, and then that'll tell you how many friends he can give the apples to. In a school cafeteria, a bag of sugar is used daily to prepare pudding for 40 students. So a bag, so that should tell you that's 1, is used to prepare pudding for 40 students. They want to know how many bags of sugar they'll need for 90 students, okay? So you can get that from what you have in this problem. So think if 1 is used for 40, how many will they need for 90, okay? And then here, Clark takes 5/4 minutes to cover 1 kilometer of a walkway. How much distance can he cover in 3 3/4 minutes? So I have 5/4 minutes to cover 1 kilometer. How much distance can he cover in 3 3/4 minutes? So you're going to have to do a division here to figure out how far he can go in 3 3/4 minutes. Don't forget your process of keep, change, flip.